So you clicked on this video because you want to know if Rian Johnson is a good director or a bad one. Well, this is the video not for you. This is a video essay about cheese. Now the best cheese is mild cheddar in my opinion. You want to eat it on crackers. Ha! Just subverted your expectations. See what I did? See what I did? Kidding aside, let's talk about Rian Johnson's filmography, starting with Brick. The concept of Brick is genuinely brilliant. It's like a Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett mystery escapade set in an American high school with teenagers acting like adults in a charming Bugsy Malone style way. Though the film is an obvious homage with a twist, the film does not enter the domain of parody. The characters take themselves completely seriously, never looking at the camera or winking at us, letting us know that they are in on the joke. Indeed, the novelty of the plot taking place in a high school quickly wears off as you are swept up into the narrative. Johnson really let himself loose with this film, with jagged jump cuts and odd camera angles here, there and everywhere. The cinematography, though a little rough around the edges at some points, was genuinely quite beautiful sometimes. If I had to judge Rian Johnson as a filmmaker solely based on this film, honestly I would say he's a good director with great promise, and give the film a thumbs up in favour of Rian Johnson. But before I move on to Rian Johnson's next film, let me tell you about today's sponsor. I don't have one, I'm a very small YouTuber. Moving on. The Brothers Bloom is Rian Johnson's second film, a film I'd never heard of before. It's an action-adventure romance starring Adrien Brody and Mark Ruffalo as the Brothers Bloom, a pair of con artists who swindle the rich with complex scenarios of intrigue. They agree to do one last job, showing a comely young heiress the time of her life with a complex action romance scenario. The film also stars Robbie Coltrane, aka Hagrid. Where Johnson's previous film was small and self-contained, The Brothers Bloom was large, loud and bombastic, and very expensive. Brick cost only $500,000, whereas The Brothers Bloom cost $25 million, and it bombed at the box office. The Brothers Bloom at its best is a whimsical escapade, shot in the early stages of the movie like a quasi-Wes Anderson film. It keeps the viewers hooked with the dynamic between the two brothers. Mark Ruffalo's character devises the scenarios, while his brother Adrien Brody acts them out. But he soon starts to suspect, like the audience, that he's the one being conned. He doesn't know what's real and what's fake anymore, and neither do we. And it's that question, on whether it's all one big con, which keeps the viewers hooked. Rian Johnson's principal obsession of subverting your expectations began with this film. The film is layered with twists on twists on twists on twists on twists on twists, twist, 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 twists, and more twists. And in this film, it worked. Johnson doesn't rely on the twists as the selling point. The characters are genuinely lovable, and there's enough humour and heart to merit a rewatch. Once again, this movie is a thumbs up. Next up we have Looper, a science fiction film where in the near future mobsters can't get away with murder anymore, so they send their victims back in time to be killed by loopers. And one such looper, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, runs into trouble when he finds he has to dispose of himself, his future self. Looper seems like another home run for Rian Johnson. It's an interesting, original genre film with a cool concept. However, cracks are starting to emerge in Rian Johnson's storytelling. There were a few annoyingly dumb moments in this film. One such moment is when Emily Blunt's character is driving towards Bruce Willis's character, despite the fact that he has a gun, and the best thing to do would to be drive away or around, which she can easily do as she's in a massive wide open space and Bruce Willis is on his feet and she's in a car. Also, the fact that murder is so hard to get away with in the future that you have to send the victims back in time to be killed becomes a problem when Bruce Willis's wife is shot, and that's his whole reason for going back in time to kill the Rainmaker. Rian Johnson just literally forgot this point, the whole reason the plot is taking place at all. Though the film is interesting and engaging enough that you can ignore these blunders whilst watching the film, afterwards it starts to become a problem as you pick it apart in your mind. Though I can't give this film a thumbs up, I can't give it a thumbs down either, because it's a cool original film. So I'm just gonna have to give it a meh. Alright, it's time. I'm finally gonna have to talk about the film that launched Johnson fully into public nerd discourse. It's time to talk about The Last Jedi. Come on.
Star Wars The Last Jedi. Look, it's safe to say I didn't like the movie, okay? Everything that has been said about it has been said. I have no nuanced opinion to offer. I would recommend watching the Closer Looks video essay on the subject if you're interested in that. I didn't like the movie, it's a thumbs down.
After catapulting himself into the mainstream, Johnson returned to original filmmaking with Knives Out, a whodunit, or rather a why-done-it, or a how-done-it. Well, anyway, it's a mystery/comedy. Fresh from his subversive Star Wars film, Johnson embraces the trope that's been most associated with him. He tells us who killed Harlan in the first half of the movie, subverting our expectations. After that, the film takes an interesting turn as we start to sympathise with Martha and we cheer her on as she tries to cover up what she did and stop Benoit Blanc from catching her. The film becomes a game of cat and mouse with the mouse pretending to be the cat. That was probably the most interesting, nail-biting part of the film, and I wish it stayed that way instead of becoming a mystery again. The film is competently directed, it's well cast, and the plot is surprising and engaging. There were still a few small errors which were hard to ignore, but it's forgivable because the film has heart. It's another thumbs up for Rian Johnson. However, politics is starting to creep into Johnson's work. And while the underlying messaging in Knives Out is obvious, it isn't domineering yet. Johnson hadn't fully embraced the woke ideology. He could still lampoon the left as easily as he lampooned the right. But that all began to change with Knives Out. But that all began to change with Glass Onion. Glass Onion is a bloody brilliant film. The rich white straight guy is the bad guy? What? Genius! Introducing a twin halfway through the film without setting it up? Genius! And somehow, when Helen is shot, she somehow survives, which means Benoit Blanc can use her to help find the napkin, which can help solve the case. Genius! So it turns out my evil twin has infiltrated this video essay and I cannot edit him out for vague plot reasons, which means I will have to put a evil twin badge on clips that may contain my evil twin. I'm sorry I didn't set this up earlier in my video essay, but the fact that I'm calling it out is pretty funny, pretty genius, right? No! The shoddy plot combined with the woke messaging is the reason why I'm giving this film a thumbs down. As you can see by my super high-tech ratings board, Rian Johnson is technically a good filmmaker. But obviously this rating system is flawed Good filmmakers can make bad films, and bad filmmakers can make good films. Personally, I believe right now Rian Johnson is a good filmmaker who's made bad films. However, if Johnson continues to make films like Glass Onion, if he continues to assume that all internet criticism is from far-right racist lunatics, and therefore invalid, he'll continue making films like Glass Onion, and the pendulum will swing. He will be a bad filmmaker with good films.